right, so today we're going to do a homeschool Q&A. I had a mother commenting on one of my posts today, and she seemed very concerned with a situation going on with her child being having a very hard time in public school. So if you are that mother and you're here, just comment and let me know, because I am breaking what I was going to do with the stream to have the homeschool Q&A and talk about whatever she wanted to talk about, or whatever any of you would like to talk about. But it is our Thursday Q&A. Why don't we just start with a regular homeschool getting started? I know for so many parents, they're fed up with the public school system, whether it be what's going on with the facial situation, whether it's going on with, what goes on with the bullying in public schools, whether it's the perverted, age-inappropriate messaging that they teach to young children where they shouldn't even be exposed to that type of stuff, whether it's the divide and conquer strategies they do with the way they teach demographic information, which in my opinion is they do that. It's actually aimed at creating division. I think it's really a gross thing that happens in the public school system, and the way they'll dehumanize certain groups. But I actually did our Foundations of Propaganda class. I teach every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. For members of my homeschool community. We actually covered dehumanization today, and I put on this whole elaborate play of how Charisma Cat and the News Roosters were talking about how the bears were really terrible and they were harassing the local salmon populations. Hello, Mello. And, bee populations and whatnot. So, anyway, we had a lot of success with that. So, needless to say, let's talk about homeschool getting started and the homeschool Q&A. So, to start, when you start with homeschooling, you do not have to replicate the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. public school schedule that children hate so much, that make them averse to learning, where you have these children who are in second or third grade, getting so much pushback from my in-laws, they're in second or third grade where they're already done with schooling, where they're faking sick, they don't want to go, which if you're a child now, that's probably easier than ever, so that must be a nice benefit for them of what's going on, right? You say you have a cold, like, oh, I have a cold, you're going to school. All right, well, I told the nurse I have a cold, and she said that I can't be here. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? When we were children, we used to, people would put thermometers up against a light bulb, like, oh, I'm so sick, I can't go to school, right? The things that children do to get out of going to school, because by second or third grade, unfortunately, so many children are absolutely done with it. Oh, were you a school nurse? I'm not trying to come down on the profession of school nurses. Again, if you're that mother that I changed my whole stream up for and you're here, let me know. A substitute school nurse. All right, well, you're crushing. And what I was saying was not negative towards school nurses. I have no problem with school nurses. So, as long as they don't completely buy into the narrative of the last 2 years. If they do, then I might have a problem with school nurses. But that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, one of the biggest mistakes that new homeschool families make is they try to replicate that 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. schedule. And children don't like it. It's 45-minute blocks. Everything's taught out of context. You get the children, when am I ever going to use this? And of course, the teachers don't admit it, but they know the children are right. So, you decide to pull your children. They do buy into it in my state. Oh, you're probably, what are you, in Cali? Which state are you in? But, you decide to pull your children out of public school. By the way, I just started a Homeschool Massachusetts. I just started a Homeschool Getting Started series on Pinterest. So if you go to the Classical Learner Pinterest page, I'm doing a whole series, Homeschool Getting Started, which is great for that. But yeah, so the first thing you need to do is file your letter of intent. This is, in a lot of states, this is done via affidavit. Yeah, check that out for sure. I'm trying to grow the Pinterest account. I started posting exclusive Pinterest content just this week, so in 6 months that account will be pretty busy in my opinion. So the first thing you need to do is file that letter of intent with the school district. Where do you get it? Where do you get it? You go to Homeschool Legal Defense Association. You get to their website, hslda.org. Scroll down, and you'll come across a map of the United States of America. You click on that map, it pops up, then you click on the state that you live. So if you live in Massachusetts, you click on Massachusetts, and then it will list the regulations. And along with the regulations, it will say letter of intent, yes or no. It will say, if it says yes, you click on yes. It'll take you to the forms that you need to withdraw your children from the public schooling system. So you get those forms, you file your letter of intent, and then when you do that, you want to make sure that whether you get it notarized, whether you send it certified mail, whether you get the school district to sign something, you need a paper trail. What if they have never been? Is it easier? Easier for what? You create a paper trail documenting that you've filed paperwork. And the reason you do this is because sometimes the school districts will play games. And they'll say, oh, we never got that paperwork, and it could cause you problems. Well, you file that paperwork, and then, boom. Now you're good. You withdraw the children from public school. The next thing you do is you go back to Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and from there you click on the state that you live, and the regulations come up. And when the regulations come up, now you know, are there any state mandated subjects I have to cover? Are there any limitations to the type of homeschooling I could do? What are the mandated hours of homeschooling that I do? So you get all of that information, and you know exactly, what state tests am I mandated to have my child take. Now, obviously, you could get out of that, but you have to go through the proper channels and get an exemption. Then withdrawing, I guess, if they never been, oh yes, even if your children have never been to public school, you still, in most states, have to file your letter of intent, right? You still have to let them know that you're planning to homeschool. So that might be annoying, but it is what it is. So you familiarize yourself with the regulations after you file your letter of intent. You get this all at hslda.org. And from there, the next thing you want to do is actually familiarize yourself with the different methodologies of homeschooling. Now, you don't have to replicate public school. Do not try to replicate public school. Definitely do not do formal schooling for 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day. That's absurd. You absolutely don't have to do that. Take baby steps, ease into it slow. 2 hours a day is plenty of hours of formal schooling. Obviously follow the regulations, but there's formal schooling and there's informal schooling. So familiarize yourself with classical education, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, and unschooling. Classical education, learning is broken down into 3 phases of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. I did a video on that today on my Pinterest account. That's what the topic was. What is that website again? Yeah, so if you go to www.hslda.org, hslda.org, Homeschool Legal Defense Association.org, you will be able to find the paperwork you need to withdraw your children from school and the regulations. You're then familiarizing yourself with classical education, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, and unschooling. Like I said, I made a Pinterest video today exclusive to the Classical Learner Pinterest channel, as to what classical education is. Breaks learning down to 3 phases of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Montessori, which is setting up your child's environment, their home environment, so that everything they do is academic, right down to their cooking. You get them on a stool, right, that they could stand up at the counter and they could cook with you. You get them knives that are safety knives so that if they slip, they still don't cut their hand, but they can cut fruits and vegetables with them, right? It's about setting up your child's learning environment so they can participate, they can learn. You have math through playing with blocks, music, art, everything you could imagine Montessori covers, and it's a great way to learn. Every parent should have some familiarity with Montessori, and they should set up their learning environment so that it's implementing some aspects of Montessori. Then Charlotte Mason, which is beautiful style of education. It's learning through these vivid stories that come to life. It's absolutely beautiful style. I've been wondering about Montessori because there's a Montessori school near me. Montessori is a great methodology of learning. Now, like anything else, any school you send your children to, you really need to know the principal. You need to know the staff. You need to know the values of that school. If they are staying in alignment with the regulations from the Department of Education. Now, some might say they want that. Me personally, with my child's schooling, I'm averse to the Department of Education. I don't like what the Department of Education has to offer. The Department of Education is ran by a bunch of politically appointed hacks who are pushing these very sick political agendas in which they're confusing young children about things that I think are self-explanatory. I don't have to get into. But I mean, even the bathroom is no longer sacred. So it's like, that's not exactly who I want in charge of my child's education. So, I mean, if that's what you want, that's fine, and that's what you go for. But Montessori is a great style of education. So classical education, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, and then, of course, my favorite form of education, the most powerful form of education, unschooling. And by the way, if you didn't know, just by being here, you are a member of the Unschoolables, because we are the Unschoolables. And unschooling is the idea that you follow the interest of your child, and you use the interest of your child, you use your child's natural motivation to learn about and study whatever it is they're interested in, to embed whatever it is you want them to learn into what they already want to do. Think about how powerful that is. Think about how motivated your child would be if you just followed their interest and said, why don't we study what you're interested in? Now think about that. By the way, if you guys could smash the like button and share this, I face a lot of grappling, unfortunately. I don't think the powers that be love me very much. I don't think they like me very much. And that is what it is. But, that's the way it goes. Just seeing something. Interesting experiment. Huh. Yeah, so I don't think the powers that be like me all that much. But, so you want to familiarize yourself with those 4 primary methodologies of homeschooling. Once you do that, you've filed the formal intent to homeschool, your affidavit, you let the school district know you're homeschooling, you wait until you get approval. If you don't have approval, do not pull your children out of school. Trust me. Even if you have to send them to school for 3 weeks, get the approval, then pull the children out. You can save yourself a headache. Get your children out of school, familiarize yourself with the regulations, and then once you're familiar with the regulations, familiarize yourself with classical education, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, unschooling. Hey, Eric Allen. So then, once you do that, now you could look at curriculums. And the reason you want to familiarize yourself with the different methodologies is because all of these curriculums are based off of the methodologies. Like, for example, classical conversations is based off of classical education. So if you don't know what classical education is, how could you properly evaluate if classical conversations is the right education curriculum for your children? The Good and the Beautiful, love The Good and the Beautiful, is based off of Charlotte Mason. Again, if you don't know what Charlotte Mason is, how can you properly analyze if The Good and the Beautiful is the proper curriculum for you? Not to mention, if you're homeschooling right, you want to implement some aspect of all of these different types of homeschooling into your homeschool. In my homeschool, we do Montessori, we do Charlotte Mason, we do classical education, and we do unschooling. I do a Frankenstein monster of what I believe my child's education should be. Speaking of my child, how's it going, Brady boy? Hit me with a pound. It's my boy. So you familiarize yourself with the core four methodologies, and then you pick a curriculum. And like I said, there's many great ones. There's Classical Conversation, Charlotte Mason, My Father's World, Abeka, Time for Learning, just Acelius, Apologia. It goes on and on and on. There is no shortage of great homeschool curriculums. I'd be remiss to mention that my homeschool curriculum is pretty good itself. I am the founder of the Classical Learner Homeschooling Company, right? And we're a small grassroots company. Earlier today, I taught a live class on Foundations of Propaganda, where I actually used the Cubs to Bears children book series, which I wrote, to teach children about propaganda, how social shame is used to convince people to voluntarily surrender their rights. Like, oh, you won't cover your face? It's because you're so selfish. You don't care about grandma? Just surrender your rights.
Dad, you should tell them our names is your name is Daddy, and my name's William Pig, and her name's Lucy down there. And she's a dog.
I think that's a good idea. Brady wanted you to know that I'm Daddy. He is Brady. And our dog right here. Come here, Lou. Oh, give me that dog.
No, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Lucy, come do it. Come do it.
My name is Brady.
Here, I'll pull you up. Hold on one second.
My name is Brady, and her name is Lucy. She's a dog, and Dad's name is Daddy.
Love you. Nice introduction, Brady. Right, so yeah, we're teaching children about how social shame is used to get people to surrender their rights. My book, First, Free Speech, Social Media, can't say that word, Social Media, beep, and the First Amendment.
Social media censorship.
Yes, Brady can say that word. So, right, which teaches children how truth speakers are labeled derogatory terms. They'll say that this person is an ist or an obic, or they're an anti-you-know-whatter, and because of that, you shouldn't listen to them, and they're spreading dangerous misinformation, and they need to be, you guys get it, right? So we're showing children how this really functions. My 3-year-old said, hi, I have a daddy too.
Yep.
So someone said hi to you, mister.
Who?
A 3-year-old.
Where?
I don't know where they are, but they're watching the stream. How old are you?
3.
3 or
4.
4? Yeah, that's correct. We were at a restaurant. We were at a restaurant.
Last week.
Yes, last week, but not in this story. About 2 months ago. And it's my wife, Brady, my daughter, Aubrey, and we're sitting there at the restaurant, and the waitress comes over. And Brady looks at the waitress.
And she says, could you give us ice cream?
You also asked for ice cream. He looks at the waitress and says, what's your number? And and she was like, excuse me? And Brady goes, what's your number? My number's 3. And then the waitress started laughing, and she was like, oh, my number's 23. Brady, that was really great that you did that.
Why?
Because I think when you asked her that, she thought you were asking for her phone number. So she was like, "You want my phone number?" But then you said my number's 3, and she realized you were asking her how old she is, how many years she is.
Yeah, why?
So she's had 23 birthdays, and at that time you had 3 birthdays, but now you've had 4 birthdays.
I loved my birthday.
Your birthday was fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'll get another one next year, so don't worry about that. I see that. So yeah, what was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about, so we're teaching children. Like I said, I teach a class every Thursday, Foundations of Propaganda, in which I use the books that I wrote to teach children about the different forms of propaganda. I'm actually going to pivot in the next few weeks. I'm going to be teaching a class on American governance and the Constitution and their rights, which I'm very excited about. So we're doing that. Our students are studying the media industrial complex. They'll be studying the medical industrial complex. They'll be studying the military industrial complex over the course of the year. They're learning to track the money, right? So for example, with the media industrial complex, they're reading the actual primary report from the Congressional Church Committee in the 1970s. So they're reading the congressional report and saying, oh, wow, the CIA admitted that they paid billions of dollars adjusted for inflation worth of money buying off news journalists. They're tracking the parent corporation. So when you turn on the TV, you might think, oh, I have this variety of choice. And then in actuality, you realize, oh, well, ESPN and ABC and Hulu, they're all owned by Disney. I'm not sure Hulu might be, but the point is that 5 corporations control, I need this course for myself, 5 corporations control 90% of what you're consuming when you turn on the television or go to the movies. So that choice really is an illusion. And then they're tracking, who do the CEOs of these companies interact with? What groups do they belong to? Are they members of the Council on Foreign Relations, right? So they're learning to track the money. When we learn about the medical industrial complex, our children are going to opensecrets.org and they're sorting which industries spend the most money lobbying swampy politicians. And what they find is that the industry that's taken over America over the last 2 years just so happens they spend much more money lobbying these swamp rats than any other industry by far. You could take big oil, big whatever, combine them all, and they still don't match how much money that industry spends lobbying. In fact, our students will be studying lobbying itself and what that actually means, right? Because that's a nice term to call what they do lobbying. That is a very nice, very, very friendly term to those people in Washington, right? So our students are learning about these things. And on top of that, so they're learning about propaganda, they're learning about the media, they're learning about the medical industrial complex, the military industrial complex, which is so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And then our students are actually doing a year-long nature unit study where they are planting their own seeds, building greenhouses, composting their own dirt. They're building their own garden boxes. They're learning the skills of construction, art, photography. They're learning all of these powerful skills that they could carry with them throughout their life. And then they're actually using our year-long nature unit study to get them their first entrepreneurial experience. Because in our community, we call it the rule of 6, that every child in our community should have some type of entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial adjacent experience in their life every 6 months from the time they're 5 years old until the time they're 18 years old. It is about experience, it is about mindset development, and it is about showing them, teaching them how to live that free and independent life that everyone wishes they could live, but very few people actually get to experience over the course of their life. I posted a video on my other channel today, what is unschooling? And I use the example of a little girl that loves art. She's 10 years old, she loves art. Do we fight that? No, we embrace that.
Can I see if there was likes to do art that later?
Well, this is a hypothetical. So you know when Daddy makes up stories? This is a hypothetical girl. Be careful, Brady. There's a spider right next to you. So if you step out here, and you look right under that chair. It's hanging from the chair. You see it?
Yeah.
It's hanging right off the arm of the chair. It's flopping in the wind.
Yeah, I saw
Yep,
it.
that's a spider.
Yeah, but where is it?
It's no big deal. I'm just letting you know that it was kind of sneaking up on you.
Was it a venomous one?
I don't know if that's a venomous one. So what we do is we always assume, we treat them as if they're venomous, even if they might not be, because that's a safer way to play it. And then what we can do is we can take a picture and then we could try to do an internet search and see if we could identify the spider. I'm not quite sure if I'll know how, but we could give it a shot. But if we identify it, then we could tell if it's venomous.
Alright, I'm up here.
You want to come up here?
Yeah. Alright.
1, 2. Don't forget that.
1,
1, 2. Buckle my shoe. 3, 4. Open the door. 5, 6. Oh, go on.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Are you just counting from 11 to 20 over and over again?
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11, 12.
All right, mister. All right. Don't dominate the stream. If you want to sit here, you got to sit nice. All right. Yeah, that's one smart boy. So, what was I talking about? So, yeah, we were doing our nature unit study, and yeah, we got a lot of positive things happening in our homeschool community that I'm very excited about. So, I really wanted this to be a homeschool Q&A. So, if you guys have any questions, let me know. The only reason I did this topic is because this one mother was spiraling on my other channel. Can you please help me? I got this situation going on. I said I'll do a live stream at 12 o'clock on the Classical Learner channel. I'll devote it completely to what you have to do. So come here and ask questions. And then in typical fashion of people, she did not show up here. So, all right.
Dad,
Yeah.
Mom said on the walk, can Sarah come over when she's done with the stream? And we just said yes.
Oh, why? You think Sailor should come over?
Yeah.
I don't know if she's coming over today. I don't know, Brady.
Rachel said yes.
Oh, Rachel said yes? All right, so maybe you know. All right, just search spiders native to your area, and you should be able to find an index with pictures pretty easy. We just did this 2 nights ago. Okay, so Brady, let's do that search later of spiders native to our area.
Yeah, but don't go near the venomous spider or don't touch it or eat it because that would be bad and it would probably die you or choke you.
What did you name the bird that lives on our tree?
Thomas the Train Tank Engine from Soda.
You named him Thomas the Train? I thought you named him Thomas.
Yeah, the tank engine.
Oh, you named him Thomas the Tank Engine bird?
Yes.
All right, he's a cool bird. And what do birds eat?
Animals.
What kind of animals do they eat?
Insects.
Insects, right? And slimy worms.
Yeah.
Slimy worms.
Yeah.
Oh, but if you're a bird, you're like, this worm is delicious. Put it over there. It's 80 degrees. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. But yeah, I really just wanted to talk about the homeschool getting started because that mother was like freaking out, and then obviously she didn't show up, so whatever. Are worms insects? I have no idea. Hardwood Bear probably knows. I think he's trolling me. Are they insects? Probably not. I don't know. I would think not. But he was naming his bird before, and there was a mosquito lying on its back, and we were having a talk about how the birds eat the mosquitoes, and then he actually extrapolated that out and said insects, which is pretty astute of him. Hardwood Bear doesn't know either, so he's just trolling me. No, he's probably just asking, but Yeah, so what homeschool do you know that only does 2 hours a day of curriculum? Well, most homeschools that I know only do 2 hours a day of curriculum. Now, you got to understand what that means, right? So, when you say 2 hours, that could be formal curriculum. So, like, maybe they're doing math and science and stuff like that for 2 hours. That doesn't mean that you're not schooling for other parts of the day. But, like, for example, earlier today, Nicole and Brady did a nature walk, right? And that's part of his homeschooling. And they're going out and they're looking for cool materials that we could do art projects with and whatnot. They could do an art project with it. When we cook, Brady's always a part of that, right? We're doing mathematics as we cook. He's cracking the eggs. He loves to crack the eggs. He loves to mix the flour and everything, right? So that's all schooling. So there's so many different things you can do in terms of schooling. Like you go out to a museum, that's homeschooling. Later today, his friend's coming over, so I guess not. But I did want to take him to the garden center to check out like banana trees and stuff. And if we did that, we would make that educational, and that would become part of his homeschooling. So schooling doesn't have to be formal, right, at all. So really, I think if you're doing more than 2 hours a day of formal education, in my opinion, you're doing too much. And like, people think like, oh, I have to do math every day. No, you don't. You have to do science every day. No, you don't. Like, pick out 2 days a week and do that. So you have a lot of flexibility in your homeschool, and you do not have to do what public schools do. In fact, the education, because it's one-on-one, because it's customized, is so much more efficient than that happening in public school, that your children could do in 2 days a week of science more than public school students do in, 5 days a week, right? So don't put that pressure in yourself. You're actually, in my opinion, you're making a mistake if you do more than 2 hours of formal a day, because then what happens is 5 to 6 hours a day of bookwork. Oh, I feel bored for your children. Oh, yes, that's too much. That is too much. 5 to 6 hours a day of bookwork. I'm not coming down on you. I'm just feeling their pain. But yeah, you're way too much. Let them enjoy school, learning. Yeah, Hardwood Bear saying that that's too much, that what happens is it makes it aversive. So like the kids, they might stop liking homeschool if you do too much. We do a lot of science because the little man likes it. But school, we didn't start till 4th grade. Yeah, and right, another way to do it is like, rather than the science every day, like you could sign up to a company like KiwiCo, and they deliver monthly science boxes to your door. And like they have science experiments, they're hands-on. You could go on Pinterest and just write in science experiments, and like a gazillion at-home science experiments come up, like a quadrillion zillion. And there's so many different ways to do things. It doesn't have to be formal. You do not need all that bookwork. No way, no how. Listen, I use all 4 methods of homeschooling, but I'm primarily an unschooler. Like, if you didn't know this about me, I am unschoolable. I am unschoolable. But it really is the best form of education. So, that's what it is. We do a lot of science. But yeah, so don't try to replicate public school with your homeschooling. Like, you should see the members of my homeschool community. Like, these are homesteaders. They have their children building chicken coops, taking care of the chickens, training dogs, starting businesses, walking dogs, like absolute legends. I have 3 families that all have around 11 or 12-year-old girls who do sewing, that they're making their own little clothing lines, and they're going to rent tables at farmers markets. Like, that is schooling. Think about the mindset development. Think about the entrepreneurial experience. Think about the planning, the organization, the financial literacy that takes, learning about marketing, learning about sales. And then they're taking classes, learning graphic design, learning digital illustration, learning drawing, like learning all these really cool skills that your children could carry with them throughout their life. Like, yeah, that's amazing. This earthen vessel right here she's crushing right now. Her son is potentially going to build a website related around statistics and like that type of thing because he's into sports. Wish I had been unschooled. So like there's so many different things you can do, different forms of education. So like when you structure your child's education, and listen, this is, of everything I said today, this is the most important thing I'm going to say. Of everything I've said today, this. You want your child's education to leave them with a master's degree in the... No, sport is not dead. Sports are not dead. Professional sports are grabbled. Sports themselves are great. All children should play sports. The way they do it professionally, they've turned it into a soap opera. They've turned men into women, and it's a really destructive habit that a lot of specifically men in the United States of America have. It's a habit that consumed a large part of my childhood and my early adulthood, and it's something that I've pretty much been able to break its hold over me, and that's been a very positive thing in my life. So, yes, professional sports are dead in that sense, in that they are the modern-day Coliseum, but children being involved in sports, and that's great. Like my son, and it's okay, like this earthen vessel, she's using sports to teach her son mathematics, to build websites, to get entrepreneurial experience. That's fine. And that family, I know them, they're amazing. They are very rooted in their Christianity, so they teach their children the problem with having false idols. Because it's when LeBron James becomes your child's idol that sports become a big problem, right? When LeBron James becomes your child's idol, that becomes idol worship, and then LeBron tells your child that if he doesn't support Hillary Clinton, it's because he's full of hatred, right? So, and that's when it becomes a problem. So, anyway, as I was saying, the most important thing I will say today, your child's education should give them a master's degree, metaphorically speaking, in the process of learning and critical thinking over memorization. You should prioritize skill development. Skills over subject matter, not that subjects don't matter. Skills over subject matter, not that subjects don't matter. Skills over subject matter, not that subjects don't matter. And your child's education should be dominated by entrepreneurial experience, the rule of 6. Every 6 months, from the time your child is 5 years old up until the time they are 18 years old, they should be doing something entrepreneurial or something entrepreneurial adjacent. So, that is the process of learning and critical thinking, skills over subject matter, and entrepreneurialism. Now, when we say the process of learning and critical thinking, when your children, they should be doing original research, like my son and I are going to do today when we look up the different types of venomous spiders. They should be researching the ingredients on the back of cereal boxes to find out what's not good for you, like what could cause you health problems, right? They should be studying history through the reading of primary documents rather than the memorization of, on this date in 1865, this Civil War battle was fought, and now memorize this, and you know how to memorize, but you haven't done any critical thinking. No, like, they should read the primary writings of Abraham Lincoln. They should read the primary writings of Stonewall Jackson, and then they could formulate their own unique understanding of what happened. This is critical thinking. You know, it's nice when they memorize the Big Bang Theory. Like, oh, that's such a valuable education. Memorize the Big Bang Theory and memorize that the Earth is heating because of you, and if you don't give the government and Al Gore all of your rights, your freedom, and money, then everyone is going to perish the same way they will if you don't wear a face covering. No, that's not science. That's not critical thinking. Children should have a hands-on relationship with the scientific method. They should be doing their own observations, formulating their own hypothesis, testing them out, setting up controls, and understanding what the scientific method is. So then when Al Gore or Doctor Wants to Give You an Ouchie comes along and says, hey, you better do this or you're going to die, you have the faculties, the capability of questioning someone wearing a lab coat, because you have a relationship of critical thinking and the scientific method. Skill development should be prioritized. Subject matter is nice. It's nice that your children memorize the Big Bang Theory. That's great. It is nice that they memorize that the Civil War happened in 1865. It's nice that they memorized all of this endless amount of nonsense. It's nice that although they stopped caring about math after basic addition, they still had to take advanced trigonometry. That's all nice. But what's really good is teaching your children construction, teaching them engineering, teaching them computer coding, teaching them art and music and photography and videography and aesthetics and any skill you can teach your children, because it only takes one skill to free. And if you give your children these skills, no one can declare them unessential, because you can't. They have skills. They can always find a way to get an employment. They can always find a way to get jobs. And then when you use those skills to get them entrepreneurial experience, so when your 10-year-old daughter is doing well with art and you say, hey, why don't you start a Fiverr account? People, I made the video today about unschooling, and I said a Fiverr account, and the trolls came out. They said, you idiot, it's pronounced fiber. And I'm like, wow, you guys are so intelligent. A Fiverr account. And at 15 years old, they start getting hired to draw illustrations for people's children books at $10 a page. And they build up this really cool portfolio. Gee, I've been enjoying your live streams. Keep crushing. Thanks. I've become pretty grabbled on with my lives on the talk, so it's glad that YouTube is letting my streams get out a little bit. And as I say, guys, smash the like button, share. I mean, the algorithm doesn't love me on here. It hasn't this channel hasn't been allowed to go to the For You page since November, which is why I don't even post here. And by the way, that's not from strikes. It's from nonsense. They gave me a strike and I appealed and I won the appeal. And then I guess whoever reviewed it didn't really care. They decided I was bad, so whatever. It's neither here nor there. It's not right, but it's neither here nor there. So you get your children skills, and then you use their skills to get them entrepreneurial experience. You're amazing. God bless you, brother. Thank you. God bless you and your family. Someone on my comments popped up. Someone literally just commented on my on the Instagram post that I did of the Fiverr unschooling. They wrote, "It's pronounced Fiverr." Like right after I said that. That's so funny. I don't care. I don't care how it's. So you use their skills to get them entrepreneurial experience. So like, if they're interested in construction, you teach them the basics of carpentry. You can get really cheap books on carpentry on Amazon for like $10. And you could literally, like, I worked with a 5-year-old who literally built a bench and donated it to his church. Like a bench. Right? So then you just take those skills and they're like, all right, why don't you make like bird houses and sell them on Etsy? Right? Then you say, okay, let's start an Etsy account. Learning how to do that's a skill. Let's start a website so we can highlight what you do, and you teach the I live near an Air Force base. It's America's bravest right there. Flying over your head. my head. Right? So then you say, okay, you just started this Etsy account selling your birdhouses. Well, now let's build a website. You teach them, you have them take courses in web design. You teach them the basics of HTML. You have them build a website. You say, yeah, you want to make sure that you take really good pictures of your birdhouses because they'll be more marketable. Why don't you take a course in photography? You have them take a course in photography. Oh, you know what? You want to market your birdhouses? Why don't you take a course in videography? You can make all these cool videos about your birdhouses. And now they know web design, photography, videography. They're doing construction, building birdhouses, selling stuff. They're doing marketing. You have them read books on marketing. And you're getting them that entrepreneurial experience. I mean, do you see how this education is vastly superior than what's happening in these forsaken public schools? That's how you educate your children. And if you do that, they will be very successful in this world. Anyway, what I do, www.classicallearner.com. My homeschool community is Homeschools Connected. It's $10 a month, and that's with the promotion code together. And the best part about that is I do not lock you in, so you don't have to pay up front for the year or anything. It's literally $10 a month, and everyone seems to love it. So we've been having a lot of success, and I've been very happy with that. So let me know if you guys have any more questions, and if not, I'm going to call it a day on that, because I do have some things that I need to do, things that I need to get done, and my God, they don't get done by themselves. I won't be back tomorrow. I stream Monday through Friday, but my Friday streams are exclusive to the members of my homeschool community. So I answer questions that they have, and I talk about what we're doing with our nature unit study and a variety of other topics we discuss. Is it $10 a kid or per family? No, it's $10 per family. It's $10 and your family has access to everything that is Homeschools Connected. Again, that's the promo code together, so it's a very positive thing. I've been overwhelmed with the feedback, and this was our first year of original curriculum development and the first year that I'm teaching classes, and our membership has skyrocketed. We've grown, I don't know the exact percentages, but well over 100% in membership since the start of this year. It's been an absolute blessing and success, and I'm very thankful. I'm following my purpose in this world. So, yeah, Homeschools Connected, $10 a month, promo code together. What's up? I have all your books, and I pay $10 a month. How do I access the classes? Inbox me on Classical Learner on there, or what's your name on Homeschools Connected? I'll walk you through everything. But if you look on the left side menu of our curriculum menu, you'll see propaganda class replays, and you get access to all of the replays from the previous classes. So it's been a grand success, the propaganda classes. And every Thursday at 10:15 a.m., I send the live, in our primary chat, I send a link to our live class, and I start the class at 10:30 a.m. Did a class today. That was a lot of fun. So thank you for everything you are doing. You have helped me so much with my young ones. Yeah, well, that's what I do here, and the homeschool community is the best community on the internet. People talk about freedom, right? Like they scream at the television, but the homeschool movement in modern America is the fastest grassroots growing. It's the fastest growing grassroots freedom movement in modern American history. I'm a 15-year-old and I've been homeschooled all my life. That's awesome. You're crushing, and I hope you're doing. I hope you're following your interest and getting the most out of your education. How strict are the schedules? I'm behind currently with Abeka. Abeka, are you doing their accredited version? Because they have an accredited school, which you have to keep up at their pace. They also have a non-accredited version, which I would suggest, which you could go at your own pace. And in terms of what I do with Classical Learner, you can literally go completely at your own pace. Just, with our nature unit study, you want to start doing it soon if you haven't, because we're planting seeds soon. Hey, Melissa. Not accredited. So yeah, you could go at your own pace. By the way, what do you guys think? I am considering moving my streams up because I do them every day at 12 noon Eastern. I'm considering starting to do them now at maybe 10 a.m., 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. instead of at 12 noon Eastern. What do you guys think if I do a schedule change? Like Melissa, like my regulars, Hardwood Bear, Melissa, what do you guys think about a schedule change where I start doing the streams earlier in the day? Yeah, but people, anyway, like I was saying, people talk about freedom and they're like, oh, I scream at the politicians. Both work for Melissa. Okay, great. Yeah, I might start doing them at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Both have pros and cons. Okay, all right, we'll see. We'll see. I'd ask Marie and Princess if she was here today, but she seems to have abandoned me. Yeah, but the homeschool movement is the fastest. How many people are on here? How many people on here are morning birds? Yeah, I would think a lot because homeschool parents, you're with your children all the time and they're awake. Like Brady gets awake. Like I try to wake up early. This earthen vessel says yes. Okay, I might start doing these earlier next week. Like Brady will wake up so early. I always flip between being a night owl and a morning bird. So I recently started being a morning bird again and waking up at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And the other morning, Brady was up at 4:40 a.m. Brady, can you go over to Mom, please? I can't have you on the screen like that, okay? Do it in the morning, my wife says. So I might start doing morning streams. But yeah, people talk about freedom. And it's like, if you want freedom, stop sending your children to public indoctrination centers, which teach them that they should embrace a statist ideology, which separates children from their roots, right? Like, America's enemies aren't foreign. Like, yeah, sure, I'm sure they have foreign enemies, or America has foreign enemies, but America's biggest enemies are domestic. They're subversive. They're infiltrators. They attack us through covert means. They indoctrinate our children through the education system. They indoctrinate our children through television programs and the books that our children read. Like, if you're a patriot, homeschool your children. If you're a patriot, live within your means. Like, sell your house and get out of debt, right? So that you can't be controlled and they can't tell you that you have to surrender all your rights or you can't pay your mortgage, right? Like, if you're a patriot, start a business and hire your friends so that they can't be controlled and they can actually speak their mind without worrying about all this political correct nonsense. Like, homeschool parents are the best thing for the United States of America. And like, for those of you who aren't familiar with me, like, I'm a real patriot. Like, I'm not like that hoorah, like I am a patriot through and through, and I love my country. And there's a reason that I chose this line of career, this line of purpose in my life. Like, I don't just talk about homeschooling. I relentlessly rip the public school system, and I teach people to homeschool. I convince people to homeschool. I show them how to do it, because if you do that and we do it long enough, that's how we take our country. That's how you get millions of people that grow up and they understand freedom, and then they educate their children that way, and it just grows and grows and grows. So yeah, homeschool parents, it's literally the best community. Like, one of the things I battle with is because, like, I'm a history teacher and I talk about propaganda, but like, sometimes in my posts, they get me down, like, all these political people come in and like, they're so low consciousness compared to homeschool people. Like, homeschool parents are a very high vibration, high frequency group of people. It's homesteaders. It's people that have farms that educate their children, and like the conversation, the level of dialogue is so much more advanced than these political people. It's like I read their they make me not even want to read the comments. I'm like, they make me want to not post about that stuff because it's like they think they're so smart, and it's like their comments are just pathetic. And it's like, but whatever. So anyway, www.classicallearner.com, Homeschool's connected, $10 a month with the promo code together. And I think I'm going to call it a stream on that. So many are scared that scared to make that change, but they are more capable of doing it than they know. Yeah, absolutely. So classicallearner.com, Homeschool's connected. Freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. And I'll be back next week, potentially at 9 or 10 a.m. instead of 12 a.m. to earn it. All right, guys.